Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 3 Star Lounge. Today, I want to talk to you guys about voting with your wallet. Because I, like a bunch of other people, have been playing the new game developed by Billy Basso and Shared Memory, and the first game being published by video game donkeys company Big Mode. And what really has been going on is people are going through the usual stages of a hot new indie game coming out, saying that, wow, this game is great. Wow, why can't all games be like this? Wow, I'm never going to play a AAA game again. Wow, this is amazing. Complete circle. And that's fine. That's actually great. I agree with a lot of that. But what I want to talk to you guys about, what it really means to vote with your wallet. Because sometimes we as gamers end up being all talk. We don't end up sticking with the things we say. And I'm not saying that you should really be quitting AAA games cold turkey, because the AAA game market, just like the indie game market, is really only amazing at the top end of it and the middle side of it. When you get towards the bottom, it's a bunch of bullshit in there. It's just a matter of eyeing what that is and where that is. And to my mind, that has become harder for gamers to suss out, because we've lost the AA space. And when you have AAA games, people have always gotten lost in the sauce when it comes to graphics. When it comes to fooling someone, if you really want to fool a crowd, especially when it comes to games, if you show them some bomb graphics, you can get away with a lot of sins if you make it look pretty in this space. And that's just the lay of the land. It's just how it is. And we can change that, but we have to be serious with ourselves in these moments, because not every indie game that comes out is great. When you get towards the bottom end of the indie space, it's a bunch of bullshit, just like in the AAA space. But when you do find games in the indie space, when you do find these good games in the new somewhat AA space, the returning AA space, you have to definitely go out and try and purchase these games. You have to try and patronize these companies. You have to try and make sure that these studios can continue to exist, especially without needing to reach for those big company dollars. Because back in the day, back in the before times, there were not always big quote unquote AAA companies. That was not always the case. Every AAA studio was a small studio at some point, and the only reason they got to be the AAA studio that they became is by delivering again and again and again and again. And let's put this in perspective. Gaming as a hobby has actually gotten cheaper for the average cost of things if we're talking about the console space, and especially PC. Once you get past that barrier of entry of building your PC or obtaining your PC, things can get way cheaper. But if you're talking about the price of a game like Mario 64 and 96, that was about $60. The price that we have been accustomed to paying for video games new up until recently. That back in 96 would hurt your wallet way more than paying $60 in the 2000s or even last year. Back in 96, a video game that cost $60 would be the equivalent to paying $119 for a new video game today. And again, I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm not trying to change your spending habits, but what I am trying to do is put things into perspective just a little bit of what we're dealing with. That is the kind of money people were parting ways with to support the studios and companies that grew and grew and grew and became the AAA studios of today. This is the climate that we went through as a community to get to the point where gaming is today, where it is the biggest form of entertainment in the world, and price-wise, it is maybe one of the more efficient ways to spend your money in terms of entertainment if you're talking about hours spent and entertainment gained, depending on the games that you buy. And supporting this middle ground. And there are many other benefits that comes from supporting these indie to AA level studios, because not only does that keep these studios open and making great games and not having to reach for those big corporate dollars, it also keeps the AAA space sharp. It keeps them on their toes, because when you have competition, when you have legitimate competition, you have no choice but to get better. And if you really want some proof behind that idea, go and talk to your local sports game fan. Go talk to a fan of NFL games or talk to a fan of NBA games. And both of those communities will tell you the day both of those franchises started to go down is when their competition either died or where they were put in a position where they are no longer able to make games to compete. And I don't think I'm alone in saying that a world where there are more good games in every level is a better world. However, when you reach the AAA level, it's like we have allowed ourselves to be okay with just so much more bullshit. It's sickening. But we are also getting better at fighting back against certain brands of bullshit. If you look at the Helldivers 2 situation, when Sony had to walk back their plans to require PSN to play the game, the communities of the games got up in arms, and a lot of even people that played Sony games that weren't Helldivers 2 got up in arms, and they stood on business. A lot of people were not playing the game. Some people even canceled their PS Plus subscriptions, and that is what it really means to vote with your wallet. You have to be able to take the steps that you truly need to take to hurt a company. You have to be able to say, you know what, nah, I'm skipping that game. When it comes to EA, they are pushing and pushing and pushing and looking towards generative AI being a huge part of their games. And you think that it would be to help make games faster, and that's likely what they'll say. That's bullshit, and you know it. The only reason they want to push for this is because that's another person they don't have to hire. That's several people they no longer have to hire depending on what they're generating. And the only way we're going to let them know that this ain't it, Chief, is that when it gets out that they are making games made this way, when you find out about games that are made this way, you do not interact. You do not buy. You do not play. And not only that, as you're not buying, as you're not interacting, as you're not playing, you go ahead and hit up your social media team and let them know what's up. Let them know exactly why you're not. Let them know exactly where you're coming from. And then go patronize the competition. Go give their competition that money, because someone is going to make a good game in the same genre that they're neglecting. Want me to prove it? Remember Jet Set Radio? Remember how people for a long time now have been wanting another one of those and it just hasn't happened? Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. There you go. Want another one? Wanted another Castlevania? Bloodstained. Did you want another Banjo-Kazooie? Ukulele. And I know a couple of those examples are old. Really, all those examples are old. But that just goes to show that this has been happening for quite some time now. That if you leave a genre alone long enough, someone is going to come along and make a game in it. And it's our job as the gamers, as the real tastemakers of this industry, we have to support what we believe in. We have to support the companies that make the thing we like, and we have to shun the ones that don't. And we can't give them crumbs. We can't keep doing this thing where we say, well, I know that this game has been made by a company that does bullshit I don't like. I know the game has been written by a company that doesn't make games that I like. Or I know the genre is not a game that I like. Or I know it's monetized in a way that I don't like. But I have to try it anyway. I have to give it a shot anyway. I'll never know if I don't really try, only to play the game and see it was exactly as you thought it would be. But it's too late now. You already bought it. So you have to be careful out there. Don't just buy something just because it's made by a AAA company or it's because of an IP that you like. You sometimes just gotta let that shit die, because if you do, something better could grow in its place. All this really just to say, when the day comes, if the day comes, that your favorite franchise starts going down a path that you don't agree with, starts doing things that you just cannot stand, cannot abide by, are you willing to not engage, look the developers right in the eye, look the company right in the eye, right in the publishers right in the eye, and say exactly why you're not engaging? Will you be able to do that and miss out on the new installment of your favorite franchise? Because sometimes that is exactly what you'll have to do to bring a franchise back from the brink. And it may never come back, and you'll always have those old games to fall back on and have happy memories with. And someday, something new will come along in that same genre within that same space to fill the void. And you can think on that while you're playing Animal Well. Go ahead and play Animal Well. It's a good game. It's a fun time. Got another video coming out talking about why survival mode is the only way to play Bethesda games. And like, subscribe, and do all the other bullshit. Bye now.